Hello and welcome back to MS Learn. I am glad you are here again. If you are listening to this, you are not a beginner anymore. You are someone who wants depth. You are someone who wants clarity. You are someone who wants real progress. Today's session is for advanced learners. Not fast, not difficult, but thoughtful, mature, natural. We are not here to memorize rules. We are here to understand language on a deeper level. We are here to build presence through words. Let me ask you something quietly. Have you ever noticed how some people speak and the room becomes calm? Not because they are loud, not because they are dramatic, but because their words carry weight. That is advanced communication, not complexity, depth. Today I want to talk about something most courses ignore: how to sound thoughtful, how to sound emotionally intelligent, how to speak in a way that feels grounded, not forced. Because advanced English is not about vocabulary, it is about awareness. Let me explain. Two people can say the same sentence. One sounds ordinary, the other sounds impactful. Person one says, "That was a bad experience." Person two says, "That experience changed the way I see things now." Same event, different presence. The difference is not grammar, the difference is perception. Advanced speakers do not just describe events, they reflect on them. Instead of saying, "I failed," they say, "I learned something valuable from that failure." Instead of saying, "I am busy," they say, "I am trying to manage my priorities better these days." That small shift changes everything. Let me tell you a personal style story. There was a time when I believed speaking well meant speaking fast. I thought speed showed confidence. I thought long sentences showed intelligence. But then I met someone who barely spoke, yet when they did, everyone listened. Their words were simple, their tone was calm, their pauses were intentional, and I realized something powerful. Presence is louder than speed, clarity is stronger than complexity, silence can be more persuasive than noise. Advanced English feels like that. It feels intentional. You choose your words carefully, you allow pauses, you respect silence, you do not rush to impress. That is a different level of communication. Now let's talk about something many learners struggle with: expressing complex thoughts simply. That is the true test of mastery. Anyone can sound complicated. Few people can sound clear. For example, instead of saying, "This situation is quite complicated and multifaceted," you can say, "This situation has many layers and it needs patience." Instead of saying, "The implications of this decision are significant," you can say, "This decision will shape a lot of things moving forward." Same idea, more human, more relatable. Advanced speakers aim for understanding, not admiration. They do not ask, "How can I sound smart?" They ask, "How can I be understood deeply?" Let's explore emotional language for a moment. Most learners stop at basic emotions: happy, sad, angry, nervous. Advanced language moves beyond that. Instead of happy, you say, content, fulfilled, grateful, peaceful. Instead of sad, you say, heavy, disconnected, drained, reflective. Instead of angry, you say, frustrated, disappointed, overwhelmed, misunderstood. These words give your emotions dimension. They make you sound aware of your inner world. And when you express emotions with accuracy, people trust you more. They feel you understand yourself. They feel safe listening to you. Let me give you an example. Basic expression: I felt bad after the conversation. Advanced expression: I walked away from that conversation feeling unheard, and that stayed with me longer than I expected. Do you feel the difference? One is information. The other is experience. Advanced communication shares experience. Now let's talk about storytelling again, but at a deeper level. Beginner storytelling is about events. Advanced storytelling is about meaning. Beginner: I moved to a new city. It was hard. Advanced: moving to a new city taught me how much of my identity was connected to familiar places and familiar faces. Beginner: I lost my job. Advanced: losing my job forced me to confront parts of myself I had been avoiding for years. Do you see what changed? Events became reflections. Facts became insight. Experience became wisdom. That is how you sound mature in English. Not because your grammar improved, but because your perspective expanded. Let's talk about tone. Advanced speakers control tone intentionally. They know when to sound warm. They know when to sound firm. They know when to sound thoughtful. They know when to remain neutral. For example, compare these two tones. Tone 1, you are wrong about this. Tone 2, I see your perspective, but I view this differently. Both express disagreement. Only one builds connection. Advanced English is not about winning arguments. It is about sustaining respect. You can express strong opinions without sounding aggressive. You can disagree without creating distance. You can be honest without being harsh. That skill changes relationships. Now let's discuss something subtle but powerful. How to speak when you are uncertain. Most learners avoid uncertainty. They either stay silent or speak with fear. Advanced speakers embrace uncertainty gracefully. Instead of saying, I don't know, they say, I haven't thought deeply about that yet. That's something I'm still exploring. I'm open to learning more about that. Instead of saying, I'm confused, they say, I'm trying to understand this more clearly. There's still some clarity I'm looking for here. This is not pretending. This is communicating uncertainty with confidence. It tells people, you are thoughtful, you are curious, you are evolving. Now let's talk about rhythm. Advanced English has rhythm. Not fast rhythm, natural rhythm. You pause at the right moments. You allow silence to breathe. You let ideas settle. This is especially important when you speak. Rushing destroys depth. Calmness creates impact. If you are listening to this slowly, your brain is learning rhythm. You are learning pacing. You are learning flow. That is not accidental. That is training. Now I want to share something real. Many learners believe advanced English means learning rare words, but that often leads to unnatural speech. Real advanced speakers use simple words with precision. They choose the right word, not the fancy word. Instead of utilize, they say use. Instead of commence, they say start. Instead of terminate, they say end. But they place those words in thoughtful sentences. For example, I want to understand myself better, not impress people with my words. That sentence uses simple vocabulary, but the idea feels advanced. That is mastery. Now let's explore self-expression. Advanced English allows you to express identity, your values, your boundaries, your priorities. You can say things like, I've reached a point in my life where peace matters more than approval. I'm learning to protect my energy instead of explaining myself constantly. I don't need everyone to understand me, but I value genuine connection. These are not just sentences. They are reflections of growth. When you speak like this, people hear maturity. Let's talk about listening too. Advanced communication is not only about speaking, it is about listening with presence. When someone speaks, instead of preparing your response, you stay with their words. You listen for emotion. You listen for meaning. You listen for what is not being said. And when you respond, you say things like, that sounds like it meant a lot to you. I can see why that would be difficult. It seems like you've thought deeply about this. That is advanced interaction. It creates emotional safety. It creates trust. And yes, this is part of advanced English, because language is not only grammar, language is connection. Now let me tell you another reflective story. There was a time when I spoke a lot but said very little. I filled conversations with words, but I avoided vulnerability. Then slowly, I started changing the way I spoke. I began sharing real thoughts instead of safe phrases. I began expressing uncertainty instead of pretending confidence. I began allowing silence instead of filling every gap. And something shifted. Conversations became deeper. Connections became stronger. People leaned in when I spoke, not because I became more fluent, but because I became more honest. Advanced English supports honesty. It gives you tools to express your inner world, not perfectly, but authentically. Let's talk about subtle confidence. There is a kind of confidence that is loud, and there is a kind of confidence that is grounded. Advanced speakers usually carry grounded confidence. They do not need to prove intelligence. They do not dominate conversations. They do not interrupt for validation. They speak when they have something meaningful to add. They remain silent when listening matters more. That is not weakness. That is control. If you want to sound advanced, do not aim to speak more. Aim to speak better. Fewer words, more meaning. Now I want to speak directly to you for a moment. If you have reached this level, you are no longer just learning English. You are shaping your voice. You are shaping your identity in another language. That is powerful. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming a more articulate version of yourself. Your thoughts deserve clarity. Your experiences deserve expression. Your perspective deserves language. And you are building that, slowly. Every time you listen, every time you reflect, every time you stay consistent. Not perfectly, but sincerely. Let's talk about long-term growth. Advanced learning is not exciting every day. Sometimes it feels subtle. Sometimes it feels invisible. But growth is happening beneath the surface. Your brain is adjusting. Your comprehension is deepening. Your internal voice is evolving. One day, you will notice something surprising. You will think in English without effort. You will express emotions in English naturally. You will choose words without translating. That is not talent. That is accumulation. Hundreds of hours of exposure. Hundreds of moments of patience. Hundreds of quiet improvements. And you are already on that path. You do not need to rush. You do not need to compete. You do not need to compare. Your pace is valid. Your process is real. The only thing that truly matters is that you continue. Continue listening. Continue noticing. Continue reflecting. Continue showing up. Not for perfection, but for alignment with who you are becoming. Let me leave you with a thought that feels honest. Language is not about sounding impressive. Language is about feeling understood. By others. And by yourself. And if you are still here, still listening, still engaged, that tells me something quietly powerful. You are not just learning English. You are evolving your voice with intention and depth. Word count, 1768.